It was the autumn of 1983. Tom Miller, his wife Linda, and their 8-year-old daughter, Emily, moved to a small town in West Virginia called Hollow Creek. They had just bought an old but beautiful house, their dream home. It was everything they had ever wanted, and the price seemed unbelievably cheap. Everyone congratulated them. But the neighbors' eyes carried something strange, a quiet kind of fear. Some even avoided walking past the house. Tom laughed it off. Maybe they just don't like old houses, he said. But what he didn't know was that this house was about to change their lives forever. That first night, the house was eerily silent. Linda couldn't sleep. Every now and then, she heard faint knocks on the walls, the sound of footsteps on the wooden floor above. She told herself it was just an old house settling. But around midnight, Emily's scream shattered the silence. Linda ran to her daughter's room. Emily was sitting up in bed, shaking, pointing toward the corner of the wall. "Mom, that woman is crying again." Linda froze. There was no one there. But on the damp wall, a faint dark mark looked like the imprint of a face pressed against it. The next morning, Tom decided to inspect every corner of the house. In the attic, behind old wooden panels, he found a small, hidden door. So small, it looked like it was made for a child. When he forced it open, a cold gust of air rushed out. Inside were dusty toys and a diary. He opened it carefully. On the last page, in shaky handwriting, it said, "She won't let me go. She's under the floor." Tom's face turned pale. He slammed the door shut and walked away. But that night, from above the ceiling, came the sound of something crawling or running. Days passed. Scratches started appearing on the hallway walls. At first, Tom thought Emily might be sleepwalking, but one night, he saw it happen with his own eyes. Marks forming on the wall all by themselves. He grabbed Linda's hand. "You saw that too, didn't you?" She couldn't answer. Her lips trembled, and her eyes filled with tears. After that night, they never slept with the lights off again. Tom contacted a local historian the next day. The man told him that the land there, house was built unused, to be a burial ground back in the 1800s. A woman named Margaret Hollow had lived and died there. Some said she took her own life inside that very house. That evening, Tom went down to the basement. The air was damp, heavy, and freezing. In one corner, he noticed a patch of concrete newer than the rest of the floor. He tapped it with a hammer. The sound was hollow, as if something or someone was buried underneath. Over the next few days, Emily's behavior changed. She stopped eating. She would whisper to someone who wasn't there. One night, she looked up at her mother and said, "Mom, Miss Margaret says you shouldn't have opened that door." Linda froze. When she looked into Emily's eyes, they didn't look like her daughter's anymore. They were empty, cold, and filled with a sorrow she couldn't understand. Late one night, Tom smelled smoke. He ran downstairs. The old fireplace was burning, flames roaring high, but there was no wood inside. From the walls came the sound of a woman screaming. Emily stood on the stairs, her face pale and blank. "She's here," she whispered. And then, all the lights went out. Linda grabbed Emily and ran toward the front door. Tom shouted, "Hurry!" But before they could reach it, the door slammed shut on its own. The walls began to shake. Windows shattered. Tom used all his strength to break the door open, and as they stumbled outside, every window in the house glowed bright red, as if the house itself was alive and angry. The next morning, the police came. There was no fire, no broken glass. Everything was perfectly fine, except the scratches on the walls were still there. When Tom showed them the attic, the officer frowned. "What attic?" he said. "There's no attic in this house." Today, that house still stands, silent, empty, and frozen in time. Locals say that if you walk by at midnight, you can see a faint light flicker in the upstairs window. And if you listen closely, you'll hear a little girl's voice whispering, "She's under the floor." Some stories never end, because some houses never let their secrets stay buried.